So I wanted to do a video on one of the biggest or most common mistakes that I see in food plotting and even in some of the farming industry, and that's the inability to have fluidity in your plan and also to continue to learn, um, even if that means changing your plan. So I'll give you an example. We'll have somebody who says, I don't ever want to use herbicide, but I also will never use tillage, and I'm only going to use a roller crimper and a no-till drill. And I think that is admirable. But I think at some point, whether you're looking at the Rodale Institute, who can use rotational tillage as a tool, or looking at more regenerative, where they are more allowable versus the organic side to use herbicides or pesticides as more like, hey, let's reduce it. Although regenerative kind of has some definitions of its own, and that's kind of an aside. But I see this a lot, and people will get stuck in this lane, and they just will be unwilling to move because they feel like the world's watching them or something. And I just want everybody to take a step back and realize we get one shot at this, right? We get one go around here in this life. And if you are like me and like many of you who really enjoy soils and growing things, it's okay to use the tools that we're given to get the results that you want. So a good example of that is maybe you don't want to use herbicides on a large scale, but maybe you're okay with using them to spot spray troubling weeds. Maybe you don't want to use tillage at all, but you're okay with using a harrow drag because you don't have a no-till drill and you want to get a cover crop established. These are things that will help you to be successful. I've kind of got to a point where because of our location and terrain and topography or whatnot, that I would be much more inclined, and also the amount of acreage you're doing, I'd be much more inclined to use an herbicide than I would ever be to till that ground. Now, would I ever till? Certainly, and I have, but it's very situationally dependent. I'll give you an example there. I have a field, I've talked about it a lot. Worst field on the farm, it was 35-year-old red pines, blah, blah, blah. I have not tilled that field, and I've been doing it just no-till. But if I came in there with a ripper, or I had an opportunity, somebody had a ripper and said, hey, would you be open to ripping this and then dumping a bunch of high-cal lime and things like to get that down in there, I wouldn't be upset about that. So, as I said, took this from my good friend, Dr. Patrick, when I got a chance to interview him, and he says, the poison's in the dose. When you think about that, most people think of, oh, he's talking about herbicide, but just in general, in anything, whether it's tillage, whether it's herbicide, whether it's fertilizer, the poison's in the dose. So if you want to use a little bit of synthetic fertilizer because you're just not getting the biomass that you want, that's okay. I think there's better options if you understand how nutrients move through the soil, and also for your pocketbook. You have synthetic fertilizers cheaper on the front end, but how much are you losing from a volatility or a tie-up perspective, right, versus organic amendments? But again, I think people get stuck in this siloed where, I can't step out of this. And really the beauty of growing things, in my opinion, is trying new things, trying different things, trying foliar feeding versus root soaking, in a garden case, right? And then understanding that scalability over time. I can do a lot of cool things in my 100 tomato garden that I can't do on 30 acres of food plots, just simply because of scale. So keep that in mind. Don't get disheartened. Just keep observe, plan, adjust. And over time, specifically with deer food plots, things are so dynamic and are so changing because you have this population dynamics alone that can change your neighborhood. Somebody might sell a farm, somebody else might move in, that guy shot does, this guy doesn't, so on. Within 2-3 years, all of a sudden your population skyrocketing. The amount of food you had from a food plotting perspective isn't nearly going to carry you like it did 3-4 years ago, or maybe you have the inverse of that situation occur. So there's so many moving parts that I think the biggest thing is don't get caught up on, you have to just go bop, 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 bop. That's the only linear path to success. there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different methods. And I think it's important not to beat each other down, but actually to pick each other up. So that's why at Vitalize Seed, I always like to say, we meet the grower where you're at. We make a plan that you're comfortable with. And along the way, we try to teach you some of the things that we've learned during that time. So if you guys like this stuff, we sure appreciate y'all. Check us out at vitalizeseed.com.